Welcome back, fellow babies, to Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. If you're watching as a Patreon patron, or if you are an Amazon Prime member who has been thoughtful enough to link his Twitch Prime account and subscribe to SIFTD, thank you very much. We're getting paid for that, and you're getting this show real time. Let's get to today's question. From Patreon, from Evan Adams. Inflation takes time to hit. With $6 trillion being printed, are game studios well insulated? IP can be sold at higher prices as needed, and most IP costs are human, not hard commodity type goods. Inflation happens because we have increasing wages and prices, and we have the economy is not growing fast enough to absorb all that, and it is essentially coming from printing money. But you know, conventional wisdom's kind of been thrown out in the last few years with massive deficit spending, and interest rates have stayed low because the economy has stayed strong. The economy isn't going to necessarily overheat because we printed $6 trillion. And $4 trillion of that is just the government buying back bonds. And I get that, you know, that is inflationary because the currency's been printed, but the debt's going down by the amount of currency that enters the system. The way money supply works, if the economy grows by 2%, the money supply has to grow by 2%. So while $4 trillion sounds like a lot of money, it's about 20% of the economy. And so, yes, it's inflationary, but we're doing it at a time when we worry about commercial real estate lenders going out of business because nobody is paying rent on retail stores that are closed. And the $4 trillion, that's essentially, by buying back debt, it essentially will get paid back. I mean, it's kind of a long, complicated, convoluted story. The $2 trillion stimulus, a lot of that has to be paid back. And so a lot of it is like the $1,200 check I'm getting. And I guess I'm getting $4,800, my family. I make more than $100,000 and I got to pay it back. And so I'm not going to accept it. It's going to enter my account direct deposit. And when I file my tax return, I'm going to put it right back in and pay it back. So it's not really all going to flow to us. And the fact is that when it comes in, the $1,200 gets spent. So it gets paid out as rent, which means it's somebody else's income that they pay taxes on. So again, you have to understand the velocity of money, that a dollar isn't a dollar, it's multiple dollars because it gets spent again and again and again. So when I make $100,000 and I spend $100,000, I'm either paying taxes that get spent to pay for military equipment or roads, or I'm buying stuff. And when I buy stuff, the person I buy it from turns around and spends it on something else and spends it on something else. That's called velocity. And so I actually think this is not as inflationary as you think. At the same time, we're in a recession, and we have to be because you've got as much as 30% of the workforce not employed. We've shut down every retail store and every restaurant and every cruise line and every hotel. And so all those people are out of work and they're not earning anything. And when they come back, the economy is going to roar. So I think we're going to probably go from, 2% growth to 30% or 20%, something like that, decline in June, to probably positive 8 or 10 in September. So the bigger risk is when the economy is growing so fast that's the trick of managing the economy when it's really ripping. And so no, I mean, to answer your question, I don't think you're going to see inflation. I think that's the Fed's job to manage it. We haven't had material inflation since 1991. I came out of my first couple of degrees in the 80s, and we were in an inflationary environment. And I lived through the early 90s and worked through an inflationary environment. But the last one was nearly 30 years ago. So we'll have a little bit. And if we have inflation of more than GDP growth of more than 2 or 3%, that's a problem. If it goes to 6, monetary policy will tighten and we'll do things differently. And if we tighten monetary policy, we'll get it under control. So I don't think anybody in the games industry should worry about it. Like, I guess that's the answer. If in fact we have 20% inflation, then game prices are going to go from 60 to 72, and everybody in the business is going to get paid. But we're not going to have that. And I think what you really should note is we've had 1 or 2% inflation a year since 2005. And in 2005, game prices went from 50 to 60, and they're still 60 15 years later. So, I'm doing this linear, but we've had 15 to 20% inflation since 2005, and game prices haven't gone up. So I really wouldn't worry about the game developers. Everybody seems to be doing okay at the same price. Other entertainment, movie tickets and cable fees have gone up by a lot since 2015 or 2005, excuse me. So no, I mean, I'm sorry I gave you a really long answer, but I don't expect massive inflation. I think if we were to have it, I think game developers and publishers are pretty well insulated. And the worst case is they just raise price, and we're 15 years since the last one. So we're due for a price increase. If games go to 70, gamers will pay it.
Thank you, fellow babies, for watching the Pachter Factor. But if you're watching on YouTube, what the hell is wrong with you? You can either be a SIFTD patron on Patreon for $2 a month, or you can link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch Prime account, which is really easy. And let's be real, if you have YouTube, you have an Amazon Prime account. So follow the instructions below and link it. Either way, we're gonna get $2. One's gonna cost you, one's gonna cost Twitch. Either way, you get the content real time when it's released daily.